Hello! As a full-time artist, I've accumulated a lot of paper, large-size paper that will not fit into conventional drawer units. They're just not deep enough. So I actually put together these paper shelves out of pieces of MDF at the start of 2018, and they have functioned really well. They have kept all of my paper together. It looks a bit messy though because there's no front to it, and the shelves themselves you can see are bowing really badly because that paper is very heavy, and the whole thing has started to list to one side, so I figured it was time to get a better solution. So I started looking around for what they call map drawers, or sometimes plan drawers, and these are really wide drawer units that can hold large pieces of paper. Really hard to find them, or they're really expensive, or they're horribly rusted out if they're metal. So I found a local company that makes plan drawers and I got some built. The unit fits in the back of the SUV, so we didn't have to pay to get it delivered. Hooray! Here it is all beautifully wrapped in plastic. I was planning to get it into the studio first before unwrapping it, but this thing weighs about 80 kilos and we just could not get it out. So we're having to unwrap all of the plastic before taking it out of the car so that we can remove the drawers. Each drawer is probably 10 kilos just on its own. So once they were taken out, we were able to heft the rest of the unit out and into the studio. That plastic was really stubborn too. But eventually Nick sliced it off as I was filming, and here they are, beautifully red and powder coated. And yes, I chose the colour. I could have gone for something neutral, but I decided that flame red would be far more exciting. I'm an artist, I want bright colours, and red is always going to be my favourite colour. So here's one of the drawers, and Nick was taking it out so that we could actually move the whole unit out of the car. That's what it looks like without the drawers. And after a fair bit of effort, here they are in place in my studio. We paid extra to get the wheels on the bottom of the unit, and also on the back of it is a bracket attachment, so I can add a second unit on top of it in the future, which as it turns out I'm definitely going to have to, because along with paper I also have a cardboard hoard. Quite a lot of it is in this Marbef unit, and then there was a whole bunch behind one of my doors that I pulled out in the hopes that I would get all of that into the unit as well. This is where it used to be. Not ideal, it keeps falling over and pushing the door shut. But taking a closer look at the drawers, each one has a metal bar in it which sits over the top of the paper and just kind of holds it down, I think. Stop the edges rolling up, something like that. So I spent quite a lot of time organising my papers to fit in different drawers, and happily they fit in there perfectly. Look at that, it's exactly the right dimensions. But the drawers are quite shallow and I was only able to fit some of my cardboard in, which is a bummer. I'm probably going to need to get that second unit, but they are really expensive, so I'm going to have to save up my YouTube money for that. You can see already how full they are, and I wasn't quite happy with some of the layout. Like, I've got all of my coloured papers and cardboards in here, but you'll see under this large piece that I have a couple of big pads of toned paper, and I'd ideally like to put those in their own drawer, but I just ran out of space, so I filled this up super quickly. And because it isn't financially feasible to buy a second unit to sit on top, my paper shelves are going to have a bit more of a life here. They are temporarily there until such time as I buy a second unit. Not exactly the most aesthetically pleasing thing, but they'll work for now. I also finally found a use for this piece of fabric that I've had in my stash for years. It now covers the whole unit just to make it look a bit prettier, and then I can just lift it up to pull things out. You can see I've put those toned papers in there. It's so much better like that. So I'll run through everything that I have here now. In the top drawer, I have all of my loose watercolour paper, and I've got different brands in here. About 5 years ago, I bought all of this as a job lot from a deceased estate. I paid a fraction of what it's actually worth, and my dad has the other half of the paper, so there was heaps of it, and I really need to work my way through it. So moving on to the next drawer, and shall I say that these drawers ratchet beautifully on ball bearings. They sound so good, they're really smooth and easy to open, also easy to close. So in this drawer I have all of my packaged watercolour paper. They discontinued this paper in Australia, so I bought a whole bunch before it disappeared. I've also got some Fabriano Artistico paper in there in hot press, and I think a bit more of this Canson Moulin du Roi at the bottom. I think it might even be 640 GSM. I know I do have a bit of that. And I really need to write out an inventory of everything that I have at the moment. I used to have one somewhere, but I've used quite a lot of paper since then, so I need to update it with a new list. It's still a work in progress. Basically, I just transferred all of the paper into here. So the third drawer has a whole bunch of drawing and printmaking paper. I am not actually sure exactly what some of it is. It's mostly from the deceased estate, and this artist had a whole load of printmaking paper as well as the watercolor stuff. So I'm not really sure what to do with it. Maybe I need to make some prints so I can use it like that. But I've just got all sorts of stuff in here. Some of it is more scrappy and so just good for sketches and draft copies, but that can be quite useful too when you're just trying to plan out an idea and not use good paper. In this fourth drawer, I have coloured paper in different colours and sizes. Some of it I think I actually cut down because it was so large it just would not fit into anything unless I bought some A0 drawers, but those are so massive and I just really didn't have the space for them, so this drawer unit is actually A1 sized. And in the final drawer here, I have some of my cardboard because it's always useful and I can't throw it away. Everything has, of course, been thoroughly inspected by the cats, and every time I open the drawers, Gandalf is here to see what's inside. And up the top in my old paper shelves, let me just pull up the fabric here. It's a bit of a pain, but it just makes it look so much nicer. I have some stuff which just didn't fit into the other drawer unit at the moment. More cardboard, which I probably need to go through and put some in the recycling bin. I also have those large pads of toned paper up here because it's just easier, plus a few other pads of paper. And then I have some prints and art that I need to sort out, plus a whole load of rice paper that would not actually fit in the drawers. It's just a little bit too deep. So for now, it's sitting there and I'll have to think of something to do with it. But here is the whole unit in place with a whole bunch of other stuff on top that I'd moved from the other area. It's got my stereo and a whole bunch of trinkets. I may decide to get rid of these eventually, but I just can't let them go at the moment. Next to the drawer units is that other cabinet that I got off the side of the road for free, and now I have all of my trinkets and clutter on the back wall. That tiger painting won't be staying there, it's because it's still drying and I have nowhere else to put it at the moment. Coming over to this Marbef unit, it still has quite a lot of stuff in it, but I've also got my other paintings in here which are drying, and I have managed to reduce the stuff that's in this unit. Where the paper shelves were, I've moved down all of these units which I have a whole bunch of stuff in, and you can see there's a big pile of stuff here that actually needs to be sorted. I just shoved everything down here for the moment so I can go through it at my leisure. And yeah, this side I've got a whole bunch of bins that I need to go through and get rid of some stuff, organise it. In order to tidy it, I've had to pull everything out, and it is one hell of a mess right now. But here we go, this side looks pretty good. I'm happy with the drawers. My long-term goal is to get a second unit to put on top of the first one, but they're really expensive, and so it's going to have to wait for a while. I'll link the company in the description below if you live locally in Melbourne or Victoria. My studio is very much a work in progress at the moment. I have been moving a lot of things around, and as you can see, it's still quite a mess in some parts. I plan on doing an updated studio tour next year once I have sorted everything out properly, but I thought I'd show you these new plan drawers because I think they're really beautiful and I'm so happy I got them. It's an early birthday present. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in my next video. Swatch you later. Bye!